Today we're going to talk about LiteLLM, which is a soft wrapper for different APIs of LLMs that we can use in order to interact with different LLMs as we progress through our code without much trouble. So without further ado, let's get started. At the end of this video, by the way, we're going to have a simple chatbot that looks something similar to this, where you can actually switch up the different API that you're using. So for example, you could use OpenAI for this chatbot, or you can use the Hugging Face model, or even Ollama that we covered in the previous video. So LiteLLM is a relatively new project in this space. You can see they only have 2.9k stars at this point, but I believe this is gonna skyrocket in the next few months. And the general idea is pretty simple. We have different types of LLMs and GPTs that we can use, right? We can use OpenAI, we can use Hugging Face, Ollama, Vertex, Anthropic, etc. But we need something which is more generically available. For example, if I wanted to switch between Ollama and OpenAI due to costs, right? Or various reasons due to performance, etc., etc. So the idea is that you're going to use some kind of a wrapping framework. So the framework is LiteLLM, and then you can use, for example, the completion, which would allow you to perform a prompt to the AI itself, and then as we get a result from this prompt, we can use it normally throughout our code, right? So if we wanted to switch up between Ollama and OpenAI, all we need to do is literally change these 3 rows within our code, and the rest would be exactly the same, because the completion is like from LiteLLM, and then you can use the results from the completion in a widely generically available method, right? So, for example, I have some code that I've written here. We have a .env with the Hugging Face API key, which we load at the beginning of this script, and all it does is simply the completion. One time we're accessing Ollama, which we covered in the previous video. If you haven't seen it, you can go ahead and check it out. This is running locally, right? We can validate it from here. And in the second section, we're using Hugging Face and Inference endpoint. If you want me to explain about this as well, please let me know in the comments. I can cover this in a different video. But as far as you are concerned, you can just assume that this is like an OpenAI API, specifically for the Mistral 7B instruct model. And as we're running this code, you can see that one time we're getting a result from the local API and one time from the Hugging Face model. Now please keep in mind that the token's length was not configured. This is why we get a partial response for the Hugging Face query. But this is kind of dope, because you can see that we can actually extract in the same manner, both from the Hugging Face and the Ollama APIs, the contents of the messages. So now that we're done with that, we can go ahead and get to the second part of this video, where we said we're going to start something that looks like this. By the way, quick note, in order to know that you're actually accessing an API Inference endpoint, you can go ahead and just try and access it. If this is like you're seeing on the left. So if this is an actual API Inference endpoint, the result should look something similar to this. If it doesn't look like this, you're probably not trying to access an API Inference endpoint. Okay, cool. So now, as we're taking a look at the LiteLLM, we can see the tutorials showing us how to use it properly and with different and various different LLMs. One of the examples here is like starting a radio chatbot, where we can actually use the chatbot itself as if it was like a text gen web UI, or like some sort of Hugging Face regular AI, but this is all done locally, and as we can see, also without any costs. So for example, I had it running already. Let's rerun it again. So this is going to be the hub, and as I'm running it, I'm going to explain a bit what's going on here. So first of all, you're going to install the Gradio NGR. So let me go back to the example. Right, so they're saying that we first need to install Gradio and LiteLLM, then we're going to need to import it. So we're importing Gradio SGR and LiteLLM. Then we have Inference, and this Inference basically performs the exact thing we did earlier, but this time it's a bit more configured. So for example, we can see the max new tokens, where we had previously we didn't provide it, and then our message was cut off. So now we can actually get a more larger response, for example. And then we have a bunch of other configuration stuff, which we don't really care about this at this point in time. And mainly what we care about here is like seeing what's going on, right? So we have an inference. The inference is like accessing the API. We're passing a history list, where the history contains the previous messages and the responses. And then we can go ahead and pass another message, which is the newest message by the user. And then we're gonna prompt the API endpoint and wait for a result. And then as we get the response back, we're gonna pass it back, right? So this is the code that actually reads the UI, this is the gradient. And you can see that we're actually using the inference. So if we go back here, then we're gonna reload it, and we can ask it, how much is 4 times 2, right? And you can see that this is virtually instantaneous, like this was so fast, and this is all done by the API. So you can ask it, what model are you running right now? Right, and then we're gonna get a response as well. So we can see that this is a Mistral AI model, and this is exactly the API that we're accessing via the inference endpoint as well. So if, for example, we were to use multiple different APIs, you could also use and play around with it as well. This is actually kind of dope in my opinion. This is the concept behind like wrapping different LLMs, and LiteLLM does a really good job with this in my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. I think this is a really interesting development in this area, and this has a bright future ahead of it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, comment below so I know you want more stuff like this, and I'll see you in the next one.